Welcome to the Hallucinogens Podcast. It is a lovely Thursday afternoon. It's your host, Brian Cruz, and I'm joined by my co-host.
David Artiga.
First off, we would just like to thank everyone for listening to this, and let's get it started.
Yeah, so the first thing that we're going to be introducing today and talking about during this podcast is hallucinogens and what they are. Hallucinogens are a drug that cause hallucinations, profound distortions in a person's perception of reality, and they alter the way that you feel. And people under the influence of hallucinogens usually see images, hear sounds, and just feel sensations that to them feel real but aren't. How hallucinogens are made, they can be made into a liquid solution, pills, tablets, and powders. They can be used by being injected straight into the muscles and the bloodstreams, inhaling it through your nose, or smoking or vaping. Hallucinogens can also be chewed and swallowed or added to any food, so pretty much made into a type of edible or any type of other snack that we made. And they can also be found in the wilderness in plants and animals. For the effects of hallucinogens, hallucinogens have both short and long-term effects that can both harm you and be a little good for you. Some of the short-term effects that I found that are possible are you'll get an increase in heart rate, a sense of nausea, a change in your sense of time and how you pretty much perceive how the day is going. It just goes a little slower. And you get an intensified perception of reality. So you're just more aware, more sensitive, just pretty much being more there, pretty much. You get a feeling of relaxation, which is one of the good short-term effects. And then one of the other effects is trip, which is an intensified period of being pretty much under the influence of a hallucinogen. So pretty much he like tripped out on LSD. And trip can be good or bad depending on how the person reacts to it. And one of the last ones I found is paranoia. There are many other short-term effects that I can talk about, but it would take too long. Some of the long-term effects that I've found that are possible with the effects of hallucinogens are persistent psychosis. So it'd be a series of continuing mental problems, like pretty much like visual disturbances and paranoia that you could get if you use the drug more. It's a little rare, but it's possible. Another one would be hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, or HPPD, which is a reoccurrence of certain drug experiences, such as hallucinations. Flashbacks often happen when you have this disorder, and they happen without warning and usually occur within a few days or more than a year after drug use. It is also a rare condition. Another one is memory loss, depression, anxiety, weight loss, and many more issues that are both mental and physical issues. Effects of hallucinogens are different for each person. No one really experiences the same effect because every person reacts to a hallucinogen differently. And hallucinogens are very unpredictable in nature, which is why they have these varying of effects. And now we're going to be talking about the other hallucinogens that we researched.
So, here are a few types of hallucinogens. There is LSD, which is aka acid. It is one of the most powerful chemicals that make hallucinogens. It is kind of a clear or white odorless material made from lysergic acid. And then next up, there is DMT, which is a very powerful chemical and can be found naturally in Amazonian plants. Ayahuasca is a tea that is made out of these plants. It is also the chemical that is produced where you are close to death. Finally, there are psilocybin, aka magic mushrooms. These mushrooms come from tropical and subtropical regions of South America, Mexico, and the United States. So first off, we have LSD, or lysergic acid diethylamide. LSD is illegal and is classified by the Drug Enforcement Agency as a Schedule 1 drug. is produced in crystalline form and then mixed with other inactive ingredients or diluted as a liquid. It is highly addictive with no current medical treatment or recovery. Main forms of LSD are in tabs, paper or gel tabs, and when you take LSD, it hits instantly. And the effects are rapid heart rate, increased body temperature and high blood pressure, distorted visual perceptions, hallucinations, dilated pupils, and the trip on LSD takes about 12 hours. It may cause nausea, seizures, increased blood sugar, difficulty sleeping, schizophrenia, flashbacks, a crossover into reality, which means like you can hear colors and see sounds. And a fun fact about LSD is that after you take it, it apparently randomly hits you once again out of nowhere. And next up, we have DMT or N-dimethyltryptamine. It is a Schedule 1 controlled substance in the US. DMT is the main ingredient to ayahuasca. Some people believe this drug naturally exists in our brain and is produced when we dream, when we are birthed, and when we die. The main forms of DMT can be found in vape form or through like tinctures. The main effects of DMT are their very high psychoactive effects, which can be described as an out of body experience. When you take DMT, mainly it lasts about 30 minutes, and you're sort of frozen in form. And one thing about DMT is that the come down from DMT is very, very rough. And DMT may cause high heart rate, seizures, loss of muscle coordination, confusion, or again, as said before, HPPD, hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, which is quite rare. And finally, we have psilocybin, aka magic mushrooms, or also it is 4-phosphoryloxy or N-dimethyltryptamine. Magic mushrooms are legal and a Schedule 1 substance. There is a potential for them to become addicted. Not all mushrooms are magic mushrooms. There are over 180 species of mushrooms that contain this chemical. The main form that are these magic mushrooms have long, slender stems that are white/gray with caps that have dark gills. When you take mushrooms, they're mainly taken orally, so you eat them, you can brew them in a tea, make them in a milkshake, whatever. But the way these are processed is that they are digested and you have to wait for the effects to hit your brain, which is in about 2 hours. The main effects of psilocybin are visual and auditory hallucinations. Also, you get a very, like your perception of reality is unsure, and you have the inability to determine from what's real and what's wrong. Another main effect from magic mushrooms is that you get very high orientated in your mind. What some users have said is that everything makes sense to them, but they can't explain it. And this psilocybin may cause spiritual experiences, loss of time, mixed senses, extreme paranoia, relaxation, or loss of appetite. And that concludes our podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good trip.